I've got some specials on the show tonight. I'd like to say I've got 3 guests on the show. One of them is human, and the other 2 are just legendary and epic. I'd like to welcome to the show, and I wish I had a screaming gang, almost like the group that met the Beatles when they landed all those years ago. For my next guest, Trevor Beattie. It's like a mob. That's like a lynch mob, that, Trev. Now, Trev, we don't have a caption underneath your name because it's your business, if you don't mind me saying so. So, what can we put under your name? Because I don't want to put anything under your name that was rubbish and you went to me, that's garbage. So what
No, I'm an Adman and Ali fan, so I'll let the guys make of that what they can.
So let them just do it themselves?
Yeah.
Go on then, boys, do your damnedest. What are you going to put him up? The addest man on the planet.
That'll do.
They didn't think of that, did they? Tell the truth. They didn't think of that.
They did.
Trevor, don't fib. Now, there's a couple of things you may have just caught them in front of Trevor there. They weren't. Can you see that red thing and that white thing? Well, let me just explain to you what we've got here on the table. Okay. Now we've got. I'm going to deal with the white things first. Can we get on those boots? There we go. Those are a pair of. Well, they're a pair of boxing boots. They're not just a pair of boxing boots. They are. Will you tell us what they are, Trevor?
They are the boots which Ali wore in the fight that he had after the Rumble in the Jungle, which was against a fella called Jimmy Young, which went the distance, fight went the distance. And they're actually signed twice by Ali. And
they've got, is it on the screen here? So those boots he's wearing there. Those boots he's wearing there. You saw them briefly there. Those are the boots that we've got here on the table. Oh. Show us the boots. The boots are at the top of the clip. Oh. No, yeah.
There was a...
So interestingly, there's 2 signatures on there, and it's like the pass and the time.
The one boot... yeah, the one boot signed, but they're actually signed at different periods, and you can tell from the
signature.
Yeah, because that's a vintage signature because of the flow and the scale of the signature. And later on, this is obviously a slightly later signature, and his signature has obviously through his illness has changed over the years.
Just leave it like that, Trevor, because to see the signature that way, you can see what Trevor means. That's it. There's the long one. Now, I've got 2 autographs as well. One that he did for me about 12 years ago, which is that one at the top of the boot, and then I've got another picture that was signed many years earlier, which is him.
Vintage.
Dear Lake, which is the different. There's a real difference, isn't there?
Yeah, of course.
So now you own those boots. Did you get them at auction, or did you just acquire them over the years?
No, I bought them at auction. I bought them at auction in LA. About 12 years ago, something like that.
And Trevor, recently, something sold for $1 million at his 80th. Is it a pair of boots or a gown or a robe?
No, it was the celebration for Ali's 70th birthday.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was at Vegas. I think it was MGM.
MGM,
Vegas, and a bit of a big celebrity gathering. And they had a few things for sale, but in auction there. And the star auction prize was the gloves that Ali wore for the Floyd Patterson fight. And they went for $1.1 million. Do
we know who bought them, or is it secret bidder?
Yeah,
there's a lot of high.
No, it wasn't secret bidder. It was a football club owner.
No,
I believe, or a
American.
No, sorry, it was a football club owner bidding against a martial arts sports expert, trillionaire.
Trillionaire. Yeah. Oh, that sounds like it was the guy that runs the UFC. Now, were you?
Yes, yeah, could have been.
Did you think about anything in that auction? Did you look at anything?
I was originally thinking of going to that event, but I couldn't go in the end.
Right. Now, I've seen your collection of things, and it goes from Marilyn Monroe Teddy, which is brilliant. It goes to the fantastic Zippo lighters, and it goes to Dame Margot Fontaine's Last Point shoes, which are brilliant. But the big daddy of the stuff, and the stuff that still makes me a little bit breathless talking about it and even looking at them, even in picture, and we're going to come to that in a second, are those gloves, Trevor. Just you tell us what they are and show us. Show us what they are.
Yeah, why don't I show you? Because they're pretty self-explanatory. Let's get the angle right.
There we go.
These are the gloves which the then Cassius Clay wore 1963 for the Henry Cooper fight. That's a ripple.
Mob's gone.
And the split, that's the legendary split glove, which is now extremely split.
Extremely split.
Over the years.
How many fingers do you think have been in there?
Well, there's been a lot of horsehair stolen out of these. The left glove's
so
considerably
light,
lighter than,
is that right?
than the right glove. And also they're quite shriveled. I mean, it's 50 years now.
Yeah.
Next year is the 50th anniversary. And they, you know, the legend attached to these...
We've actually got it here.
Oh,
so those gloves on those hands are the ones that you're holding in your hands in this studio now. That is quite staggering. Now these went on a mad route, because the day after the fight they ended up in a betting shop, Albert Dimes' betting shop in Soho.
Yeah.
And they stayed there for a while because Albert Dimes was a friend of the Bishop, who's Jim Wicks, obviously was Cooper's manager. Then they went on a bit of a tour of different places, and they spent some time in Durham prison, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I mean, I know they spent some time in Durham prison. I've got that from a couple of different places. I just wondered.
They ultimately were at Thomas and Becket.
I know they were just there. Yeah. I mean, now do you have to keep them in a special place, or obviously keep them safe? But do you keep them in special conditions? I
have a. It's the first time they've been out of their glass case, but they have a special museum-built glass case for them. And it was nice because the day that I bought them, I got them from Christie's 10 years ago now, and the day that I bought them I was queuing up to pay for them, and I just remember there were some voices behind saying to me, "Oh, there they go, off to America," and I was happy enough to turn around and say, "Well, Birmingham actually." So
not Alabama either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, Trevor, I've got to bring something else in here. It's going to be a bit awkward and a bit tricky. We've got a competition.
If you want. Have a hold.
Oh shoot! I've never touched them. Oh my God! Can we have a picture of that, please? Me with the gloves. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, take them back, Trevor. Now we're gonna get a competition.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a competition going. I'm gonna put my microphone back on. That's not the competition, although that is a decent competition. We're gonna have a competition here. Okay, it's quite simple. In fact, you explain what the competition is. But before then, let's bring on what's going to be the prize. See that, like magic. Boom. There we go. There we go. Does that look as good? Now this is. Explain what it is.
Well, it's a beautiful photograph taken by a friend of mine, a photographer called John Renston, and he photographed all of my collection. And it's a limited edition print. And I thought it's nice to show everyone the gloves, but it'd be better to let someone have a piece of the action, really. So it's a beautiful portrait of the gloves.
And what's the prize? What's the competition?
That's the prize. I thought we'd have a nice competition, and rather than just what year did Cassius Clay become Ali, rather than have something that a guest could
look in
Google and
Wikipedia,
and find out in Wikipedia, to actually show a bit of Ali-style creativity as your prize-winning entry. So, the prize is, imagine if Ali was in his prime right now and he was world champion, and he was being challenged by a Klitschko. You can choose your Klitschko. Vitamin Vladimir, don't mind, you can choose your Klitschko. Knowing Ali, I know that he would have said, I'll take them both in the same night, and then you can throw in David Hay later on, and he would have. So, the competition is, what would the poem have been that Ali would have written prior to his fight with a Klitschko? What would the poem have been?
And it can be any length, this poem, can't it?
It can be any length, because that's the point. Some of the Ali poems, I mean, the poem for Cooper was relatively short, in that, you know, I'll dance and I'll jive, and if you're still alive, the bum will fall in five. Yeah. Against some of the Joe Frazier poems, which went on for 5 minutes. So, yeah, any length has to be about the Klitschkos, has to be what Ali, if he were champion today, and he is, of course, if he were champion, what would the Ali poem been what would it have been like? What would he have made of the Klitschko's?
And you can send that, and send those in. We're going to do this for at least 4 weeks. We may even extend it to 6, because this is a bit special. Now, it's quite simple. You can send it into bunce@boxnation.com, or you can send it as a tweet to me, which is @BigDaddyBunce. Now, before we go, Trev, I like to be vulgar and talk about money, but how much is this worth? If this was selling on the open market, what would it be worth?
We auctioned a print for cancer charity a couple of years ago for the Bobby Moore's widow charity, and that fetched £8,000. So
that's what we're looking at. So what would the poem be? Trevor, listen, thanks for coming in. It's an absolute delight to see you. It's unbelievable to see those boots in person. Absolutely incredible. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed the show. This is what you could win. Get those poems in to me. You've got the address. Get them into me. We heard from Shane McPhilbin. We heard from Bobby Ches. We've had Trevor Beattie in the show. We heard from Mike Marley. Now, let's have another look if we can. I'll see you Saturday night, but let's have another look at Larry Holmes doing his best impersonation of a flying bird.
You ain't got no business. Talk about it, wife. Hey, you ain't got no business. You ain't got no business.